Fantastic.
Yes, we do.
So, hello everyone. I'm very pleased to be here and thank you for the introduction and the first presentations. My name is Johan Jaquet. I work for Entrée de Jeu and I'm going to introduce you to our last project, the last project we launched. I mean, we finished basically. It's in collaboration with Addiction Neuchâtel and it talks about youth, risk behaviors, and prevention mostly. So it's called ça fait plaiz, meaning it pleases me, or it's pleasurable, literally. And it's a project that it's a tool. It's a tool for facilitating discussions with youth in various situations of use. For example, schools. So it can be used with up to 24 people. It could be used in schools, in events, etc., mostly targeting youth and discussing addictions and risk behaviors. So the goal, one of the objectives was to develop a serious game for as tools for social workers dealing with teenagers and also their behaviors in general, the behaviors which can be risky and within many activities that they use in their spare times. One of the objectives too was to address screen-based activities through tabletop games, which are not screen-based, as the definition is saying. And we included many concepts into the content of the game. For example, pleasure, of course, because every activity related to addiction can have a link to pleasure. Popularity, because we choose activities which are popular, but also pleasurable. Motivation, balance between activities, risks, addictions, consequences, and resources to deal with all these activities and their consequences. My presentation is based mostly on the material, so I'll lead you through the material, discovery of the material that also self-explains the game. So the first part, the most important part of the facilitated game set is the cards that are activity cards. You have 25 cards which describe different activities that teenagers can do in their spare time. Here you have 5 of them, and also a card presenting the categories. So each card has a title. For example, here, se confier à un proche means to talk to someone close when you have a problem, for example. Then each card belongs to 1 or 2 categories. Here it belongs to the category crisis activities and also social activities. Each card has a risk level and a cost. Well, talking to somebody, except if it's a psychotherapist, is free. For example, for social networks, you need a mobile phone, etc. It has a cost, financial cost. The setup of the game, because that's the first game. Then you have a second one, but the first game has a setup with a board, and you have 10 of the 25 activities that are selected by the social workers before actually using the game with the teenagers. You select 10 of these activities, and each player has to pick 5 of those cards around the board. Of course, you take 1 card, and then your co-players take 1 each, etc. 5 times. And then at the end of this picking cards, you count the number of popular cards you chose, of cards that are more pleasurable according always to the players. You try to find balance, etc. And if you are with the most popular cards, you win the trophy of the popularity, which is the little thumb up. You can also win the frugal trophy if you spared some money. You can also have the balance if you have very various categories, and you can also have the trophy of the pleasure if you chose very pleasurable activities, and the prudence trophy if you chose categories and activities that are less risky. How are these cards popular or pleasurable? It's not the social workers themselves deciding at the beginning, it's the players themselves, it's the teenagers at the beginning of the game with a die. They have a black and a transparent die showing to the other players what they think are popular activities and what they think are pleasurable ones. After this, we discuss, it's always facilitated by social workers. We discuss pleasure, we discuss risk, we discuss popularity, etc. But we also discuss, and it's with a plenary session after a table session, we discuss the consequences, potentially the negative also consequences of behaviors, whatever they are. You can have a negative consequence by reading a book. If you cut yourself with a page, for example, it's less risky, but still there is some risk. Those categories of consequences are 5. It's based on the biopsychosocial model of health, but also we added the finances and also addiction, because it's an addiction interested institution, and finances are part of what they are interested in, with mostly gambling behaviors. After we discuss the consequences, we go towards the resources, because to avoid or to diminish these negative consequences, teenagers can use some resources which are either external, for example, other people, other teenagers, professional people, etc., or internal, for example, their personality, or using meditation, or solving problems, etc. So these are discussed. It's A3 format hard posters. These are discussed together in relation to the activities, the risky or less risky activities that were chosen by the adolescents. And here we are. We have a briefing at the beginning, a debriefing at the end. Everything is facilitated by the social workers. As a conclusion, in terms of collaboration, it was a successful public-private partnership. I'm representing a private company, and also dealing with a public institution. We can use tabletop games, for example, a board game, and something that is more narrative, talking about resources, consequences, etc., as tools for prevention with youth. The project was regionally based and made. It's kind of handcrafted in Fab Labs, etc., with wooden pieces, etc. Well, the plastic coins are not made in the region, but whatever. Most of the material is really based and regionally based and made. It was well appreciated by users before now, and this also shows the difference in institutions. We are not a university. We're not working with a university, and we most of the time lack funding for actually testing efficacy scientifically. And as a trained psychologist, I'm always frustrated because we don't have the finance to test at a wide level our creations. And we hope this tool to be used in other regions as well. I hope I was clear with this presentation. I hope to see you in Lausanne also on Thursday or Friday, and you feel free to contact me today with the questions or later. And thank you very much for your attention for this live presentation.